and then Alex is the brainiac. So you're going to get this wide array of speakers, but I'm also the one who blows up technology. So they don't want to touch anything, which is why the thumb drive's not working right now.
I don't know why the thumb drive's not working.
Try it in a different port. If not, then I'll have to bring my own up.
Was it from a PC?
Yeah.
Is it relatively new?
I don't know what the definition of
Oh,
new
here
is.
we go.
Again, Asperger's OCD. New doesn't mean anything to me.
Some thumb drives have been formatted with I think with NTFS, and they won't read in
a Mac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here we go.
No, we got it.
Yay.
Cool. And then let's run this. And you think I'm joking? I spoke at Peter Kiewit Institute. You guys may not know PKI in the University of Nebraska. And I told them 1 year everything blows up, and they didn't believe me, and laptop didn't work. So the next year I came in and it was a projector, and the projector didn't work. The third year I came in, there was nothing there except a board and markers. And the first marker I grabbed didn't work. So, all right, but hopefully this will go.
Okay, so while we're waiting for it to come up, Stephen Meade, our next presenter and mentor, is an entrepreneur. He's an executive and strategic advisor who is passionate about growing companies that make a difference in the world. In the past 20 years, Stephen has incubated 9 successful technology-based companies and currently serves as chairman and resident rainmaker at Big Bamboo, a holding company which incubates startup companies from innovative idea to market ready. Please welcome Stephen Meade.
I actually think I may have to update some of the bio, but
Okay, good.
got it? There we go, good.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, so again, my presentation style is a little different. I've been doing this. I've started quite a few companies. Some have done well, some are still in that growth stage. We have a few that are 8 or 9 years old. We hope we'll get out of, and then we started some new ones. Actually, we have one now that I'm running. We got acquired by a public company before we launched. So a lot of what I'm going to do is really specific, tactical. Some of the stuff's going to be word for word. Some's going to be some pretty fun pictures and cool. But it's a lot of graphics, and I fly through really quickly. And I start out with something with this. So leadership, right? What does it take to be a leader? And here's a great quote. Successful leaders are not the ones with the greatest vision or the most winning personality. They're the ones who actually do what they say they're going to do and execute on their goals. People trust good leaders because you do what you say you're going to do. Does anybody know who said that? This quote, management is doing the things right, leadership is doing the right thing.
Peter Drucker.
Thank you. So from now on, Alex the Brainiac doesn't get to answer anything. Guys, this is about being tough. It's about making tough decisions. There's a great new show out I like. Has anybody seen Suits? I mean, the attorneys are in here. Suits is this brilliant show on legal. It's attorneys. But these guys get in massive moral conflict arguments. And there's really tough decisions that have to be made. And it's really a fascinating show about psychology, and even when somebody's a friend, you have to make tough decisions that are the right things to do, even though they're not the easiest. And that's a lot of what being a leader is about. And you're correct, Alex. Thank you. Peter Drucker is the one who said that. All right? So right now, when you guys start out, your idea is just this glimmer. It's this little glimmer in your eye. It's an idea that you don't know what it's going to be, but we all have these big, grand visions. But it's in your head. Nobody really knows what it is. And a lot of what FI is going to do is teach you how to get it out into an environment where you're going to get beat up in here, so when you go out in the real world, you're going to have more success. And where it starts is, what's the vision? All right? How do you set goals? What do you want your company to be? A lot of it is, again, we'll talk about different books. I've read close to 400. You know, Blue Ocean that Fred talked about is a good one. Think and Grow Rich talks about goal setting. There's so many things that are out there. But one of the things you need to do is figure out how to isolate what you need to be successful. What tools and resources do you need to move ahead? What kind of people do you want to be around? What does your company need? And you've got to learn to set the vision. And I start out with something different. It's called, again, stealing from Covey, but it's my own underneath. Begin with the end in mind. Covey principle, 7 habits. And what I mean by the end is, I'm going to ask you guys a question. How many of you have thought about being financially independent? Anybody want to give me the definition of what that means for you? Go ahead.
It's not making decisions based on money.
Okay. Now, the trick question is, do you have a number in your mind for what financial independence is? How many of you have a number? What's your number?
$1,200,000 per year.
Okay, million.
$7 million.
7 million. So these guys have at least started. Yes, Alex.
But you notice he said per year, and he said an absolute.
I know.
Right.
So I'm gonna massage that a little. The fact that you don't even have a number, you're already set up for failure because you can't measure an outcome against an unknown. Financial independence for some people is $10,000. For another person, it's $1 million. For somebody else, it's $100 million. So what you have to do is, and there's a reason that I start mentally, and this is going to dovetail into a point Fred made about not doing it for the money, but mentally we have to play an exercise with ourselves. What you need to do is say, if I were to retire, how much money would I need per year to maintain the lifestyle that I want? And you can do it monthly or yearly, but it could be, $20,000 a month, $50,000, $100,000. You say, oh, and for me to have a lifestyle where I would feel amazing and not have to think about bills or house or travel or all the things I want to do, that is at least $1 million a year, it's $67,000 a month. To be financially independent, I need $15 million so I can live off of the interest. Does that make sense? And then whatever that number is, you need to look at it and go, wow, this is really selfish. Because this is the trick we have to play. What happens is people go, oh, well, I don't want a big number. Oh, I don't want to seem selfish. Oh, I don't really need that much. Bullshit. What you need to do is called a shift. You need to say, if I had this amount of money, that's good. My life would be great. But if I had more, what would I do for others? If I had more, what would you do for your mother and father? Would you retire them early? Would you buy them a house? Would you surprise them with a car? What would you do for your brother and sister? What would you do for aunts, uncles, charities, churches? There's so much more you can do if you expand your mind to have a greater possibility. Your number needs to be bigger than yourself. If the number is just yourself, that's selfish. So have a really big number and think about doing great things. I have a saying, money makes you more of what you already are. Right? If you're an ass, you're a big ass with money. But if you're generous, you're super generous. If you're scared, if you're insecure, you're more insecure. So just realize, here's what I want to do. And once you've got that, then you say, if I no longer have to worry about money, what do I want my life to be like? And this is where you start developing your criteria for Founder Institute. Do you want a big company? Do you want something with 100 employees or 1,000 or 10,000? Do you want to travel? Do you want a product or a service? Do you like hanging around with people who are very creative? Do you like executives? Do you like entertainers? Do you like people who want to change the world? Figure out what you want your life to be like at the end. And that criteria is what you measure your opportunities against. So when you're looking at Founder Institute, you say, oh, I've got 3 ideas and they're all great ideas, and you go, okay, great. If this idea works and I project it out to its greatest success, well, out of the 8 or 10 or 12 things I want, does it help me get financially independent? And that may or may not be the biggest thing. Does it help me change the world? Does it help me hang out with these kind of... And one idea might give you 3 of the 12 things. Another idea might give you 6. The other one gives you 9. That's the one you go to because it has to be about the emotional outcome at the end. That's what Fred was talking about. We said it can't be about the money. If it's just about the money, it not only is going to fail, it's going to translate into your conversations with people. Figure out what you want to be at the end, and that's what you measure and build against. So that's my speech on vision. Moving on. A lot about the idea, right? When you guys are coming up with a company, part of it is also an idea, right? And what name does conjure up a vision whenever you come up with a name? Like, what does your name do? We have a company, and it's actually not a company, it's a networking event, but it's called Isolation is a Good Thing. And I want to show you how easy it is, not only from the naming standpoint, but the mental games you need to play with yourself of how you redo the stories in your head. you can instantly change in a second if you know how to do it. And here's what I mean. Isolation is a good thing. Well, if I told you that was the name of the company, would you guys agree it might be a little, right? I say isolation is a good thing. People go, oh, like being alone. Oh, isolation's not good, right? Would you guys agree this is the mental image most people come up with that word?
Right.
That shows the negative programming that we've been given based on the world around us. And I'm going to change it in an instant. What if I gave you a different picture and said, isolation is a good thing? If I reframe this picture in your mind when I say isolation and you see that picture, your whole physiology has a completely different feeling and association to that word. So the visuals tied to your name are important because you're going to need to control that message when you create the company. Uh-oh. Told you. I break it. Janine, come. Oh, thanks. Sorry. Don't let me touch it. All right. So here's what you can control. You can control your name, but realize people are visual. Right? Everything we do when we process information is remembered visually. So think about your name when you build your visual. Think about your message of what your company's trying to connotate, what people think about when they think of your name. And then last, think about the perception of what you want your company to be. And I'm going to give you a couple examples. How do you create a name? We went through this. These are a bunch of different companies we started and done different things with. So number one, you might come up with something close to what you do. We have a company called RonaStar. Does anybody want to guess what RonaStar is or what it does? Other than Alex, who's seen me talk about it. All right, here's my point. Rona is an accounting term. It stands for Return on Net Assets. And it's a software that helps CFOs save money. So if I talk to a CFO and say, oh, our company's called RonaStar, we help you save, they're like, oh, it's a Rona program. So the name was very specific to a subset of people who understood it. Outside of accounting, I can explain it to people, but we went to a subset, kind of like Fred was talking about, 1-800-DENTIST. There's not a lot of explanation. No, it's about getting to dentist. I won't call it lucky, that was work, but that name had a connotation of exactly what he did. So can you come up with a name? We have another one called Magmo, which is a short for Magazine Moment. Another one, ComCom, which is Community Commerce. So can you come up with a name? Can you come up with something different? Can you make up a word that doesn't mean anything to anybody? And then you get to build the message off of what that word is because it doesn't give them a connotation of what you are. Can you come up with something that's storytelling? My Blue Earth. Allegory, Orion Nation. We created, this was Orion for the constellation of the brightest stars, and Nation, which is a culmination of people around a common cause. So we created a word based on two separate and brought it together. So think about your naming and also realize it's not all in the name. All right, and I'll agree with, and this is the benefit, I guess, of Fred going first, is I get to keep talking about Fred. I will agree with Fred to 98% of what he said, of his name being the benefit. But it's that 2% of execution that makes the difference. If somebody else had 1-800-DENTIST and didn't execute, didn't go the extra mile, it wouldn't have mattered. So try and get a name, but remember, your company's about execution. And here's some examples. Realtor.com, is that a pretty good name for what Zillow's crushing them? Books.com, I used to own that. I owned Books.com, Sports.com. We owned a bunch of them in '97. And I was on a TV show with Jeff, and I laughed at Jeff at Amazon. I'm like, you're Amazon, we own Books.com. You crushed us. Mail.com versus Gmail, auctions versus eBay, right? So having a name is great if you can get it, but it's about execution. You've got to execute better than anybody else does. That's what's going to make you different. Here's a good example of thinking about a name that has connotations of what you want, but may have connotations to somebody else that isn't what you want. Nova. Anybody know what a Nova is? Car. It's a little dated. Some people would know. Nova was great. They thought about it as a supernova, a sports car, muscle, and it was all about, you know, this great thing in the sky. But if anybody knows Spanish, nova It means no go. So they built a car that when they tried to go international, didn't go anywhere. So again, you have to think through the name. We're a continental society now. So Nova. Here's a quick example on ours. We had a company called AdSnips. Is that pretty? I mean, even though you guys don't know what we do, we basically built a technology that when you hit send on your mobile device, we can put a 4-second message in the time you hit send and the time the phone rings. Right? So you hit send, you hear a little message. I called it AdSnips. Does anybody want to guess what kind of messages we played if I call it AdSnips? Advertising. How many people like advertising? Exactly. We're going in with a company that exactly specifically articulated what we did, and we're in a negative position day one because people are like, oh, well, we don't want to do advertising. Oh no, we can't do that. So we had this great logo built and this it didn't work. So I came up with a new one called Cineplex. Does anybody want to guess what Cineplex does? Same thing. But I got to build the message. When I walked in and said Cineplex, they're like, oh, what's your company? Tell me what you do. And I had the opportunity to frame exactly what I wanted. All right? And rightly or wrongly, you guys may or may not like politics. I love politics. We're in a site called The Angry Middle. All right? And whether you like Obama or not, here's what Obama was brilliant at. I'm not a big fan of his in a lot of things. But the skill set he learned out of Chicago from public speaking was build a great message and let people put what they want to on it. Hope and change. Yes, we can. Nothing specific, and the world projected on them what they wanted him to be. When I walk in with Cineplex, I'm an open book. I let them project on because I created it. And then the name, just for a little connotation here, here's what we did. We did a ton of research. Cino is a prefix. The word Cino means something new and unique. Plex is a combination of many things, multiplex, quadruplex. So we took those two words, prefix and suffix, created a new word, which was kind of cool. Something new and unique, but a combination. But then I also got a little egotistical, as I'm prone to do, and thought, wow, the number of messages per day is bigger than Google, ads per month. So I did a study of the genealogy of numbers, million, trillion, quadrillion. Centillion, so it goes goggle, 10 to the 100, centillion, goggleplex. I took centillion and goggleplex, combined it for Cineplex to mean a word bigger than Google. Now I'm the only one that knows that, but if it works, I'm like, oh yeah, we knew it would happen. All right, so think about your name, and sometimes you have to come up with something that you can create and then build that perception into it. This one's kind of cool. It's called The Power of Words to Sell. And Jenny, can I play a video on here? How many of you guys have seen this? A couple of you guys? Let's see if I can do this real quick. It's about a 1-minute video. Anybody want to help me with this? Because it's not Control-C on an Apple. All right, guys, so let's just watch this for a minute. It's talking about the power of words and perception. Yeah, thanks. Here, let's make it go full screen. guys. So that, again, was meant to be simple, but messaging, words are powerful, right? Simple sentence structure, simple taglines. Really put thought into that, because that's the perception, you know, your ideas can have to convey to people. And what's the most powerful way to do it? It's images, it's words. Those are the things you can control. The third thing you can't control, but you really have to think about, is the value of perception. Here's what I mean by perception. Here's a little, it's not a quiz, because I don't do quizzes. If I did, Alex would know all the answers. But how would you feel if I told you there was a company out there that had this? It's one of the most valuable companies in the world. They made $87 billion. They had a profit of $19 billion. They're sitting on $76 billion in cash. They employ 50,000 people, and they make $1.7 million per employee. Most of its employees are overseas. They charge 30% more for their product than anybody else. They had a 75% market share, and they pay less than 2% on their taxes. Does that sound like an evil corporation? Right? Greedy CEO, $1 million per person overseas. If I told you it was Shell, right? You guys would go, of course, it's greedy, oil. No, it's Apple. Apple makes almost $2 million per employee, pays almost no taxes, shifts most of their manufacturing over. It's a complete scam from the perception of it being this great company. Now, they're a great company, don't get me wrong, but the perception versus the oil companies is not a parallel. They've done an amazing job managing their public perception of what they are as a company. Think about that from day one. You've got to figure out, how can I set my perception when people think about me? They think about me in the light I want them to think about. What are they going to project on you? All right, where does your road lead? Like, if you're thinking about it, people are going to tell you it won't work. People are going to tell you you can't get there. People are going to tell you, you know, give up, go get a job. And my saying to anybody that tells you to go get a job is, say, if I fail, I can always go get a job and I'll be just like you. All right? But if you want to do something different, this was interesting to me. Years ago, I was driving on the back roads of Maui in Hana. I think it was the back road, Hana?
Hana.
And I came across this sign. Road work. Starts in April, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 3. Expect delays. I'm like, crap, we're like driving, we're going to get stuck in traffic. I'm from LA, right? I immediately go to, how long is this going to take? So you go around this little bend with that big sign, and that's what you see. As far as you can see, but it also kind of looks like it goes off in the middle of nowhere. So as you're driving, you're like, well, is the delay because I'm not going to make it? But you keep driving, and you get right up to the edge, and it's really, again, so interesting. As you get up over this edge, it kind of disappears and goes around. As soon as you come around a curve, that's the view you have coming around. So easy to stop, though. Expect delays. Not going to make it, right? But if you make it, the views are amazing. Most people stop. Just figure out how to keep going through. Takes a little bit of planning. 2 fun little pictures. Don't want to jump before you're ready. If you can't see, there's a bunch of alligators over there waiting. Right? You also don't want to just take off without thinking about where you're going. Here's a girl on a training wheels, about to, looks a little scary, might work. Some of you guys have seen this one before. I'm a big proponent of the word tact as opposed to pivot. Just for what it's worth, you'll hear a lot. Oh, pivot, pivot. We'll have to pivot our business. Pivot to me means I'm going this way, and true pivot is I turn around and go this way because I don't know where the hell I'm going. To me, I like the term tact. Tact means if I'm starting out in a race, I start at one point, I know the finish point is here. This is what I want my business to look like at the end. This is what I want my success to be. This is my outcome. How I get there may change a lot along the way. But I'm making tax, I'm adjusting my business, I'm changing my business model, I'm changing names, I'm bringing attorneys in. When we changed names, we had to do new trademark, new research on branding. All of that costs us money. But it wasn't a pivot. It's like, okay, it's one more step because our desired outcome is here. So it's like having a race where you go, I know I'm going to get there. It's just we have to make adjustments along the way. That's my personal one. I like tack, not pivot. Pivot kind of gained market acceptance, so be it. But I use this one. So it's not a pivot, it's a tack, because you know where you're going, you just make your adjustments. Next, building a company, especially when you're going through Founder Institute, is a lot like cooking or baking a cake. How many people know how to cook? All right, good for you. I know how to order. And I can microwave with the best of them. But here's the point. If you wanted to make a really amazing meal, there's a process. And one of the processes, you've got to know what you're doing in the kitchen. But before you even get in the kitchen, you have to learn how to shop, what the recipe is. There's a certain process that you need to follow. All right? Now, I don't know how to make a cake. I'm going to make this up, so please don't hold it against me. But my guess is if the process to make a cake was egg, flour, butter, milk, stir, oven. And I went egg, flour, butter, oven, milk, stir. It might not work. Same ingredients, different order, different sequence, different outcome. That's what Founder Institute is like. Your cake, you don't want it to be flat and fall. There's a process you're going to go through here. It's a specific recipe designed to help you be successful at the end. Sure, you could do it in different orders. Sure, you could go, but if somebody's standing there teaching, you just realize there's a process to help you at the other end be successful. And it's done in sequence. It's done in order for a reason. All right, another one of my sayings, I don't have these slides in here, is I've got hundreds of these. Experience is the greatest teacher. It's also the slowest. Accelerate your learning. Read books. The mentors that are coming through are going to teach you things that are going to accelerate what you're doing, so when you get out there, you don't make the same mistakes they did. All right, now anybody that knows the answer because you've seen me do this before, do not give the answer. But what do you think the number one question you should be asking yourself every single day in your startup is? Anybody want to take a guess? Number one question, huh?
Do I still love it?
Do I love it? It's one.
Why am I doing it?
Why am I doing it? Good, those are all emotional ones. Anybody another guess? Number one question every time, why won't this work? Day one. You know, Fred talks about it for competition. Why won't this work? What am I doing wrong? When you go into somebody and solicit negative information, you don't go and go, look how great this product is. What do you think? Isn't it great? People are going to pat you on the head and give you platitudes because they don't want to hurt your feelings. You want them to hurt your feelings. You want to go in going, I'm building this company. Why won't it work? What am I missing? Who else is doing it? Where's my competition? If you solicit that negative advice in a positive way, it will allow you to frame your business in the way it's really supposed to be done, not the way you think it needs to be done. Every time, why won't this work? I'm trying a new business model out. I go to people, hey, here's what we're doing. Why won't this work? Oh, well, did you try this? Did you try that? Oh, do you know this guy's already doing it? All right, we just launched a photo sharing app. I'll talk about it in a minute. And if I say, oh, we've got a photo sharing app, the first thing people have, again, the mind is like water, path of least resistance. Oh, well, geez, you know how much competition's out there? Right? Everybody in the world's got a photo sharing app. Anybody want to guess how many are out there? Take a guess.
200,000.
1,000, 10,000. Just photo sharing, not apps. Just for photo, like the Instagram, those kind of things.
Like 20 maybe.
20. We get in, when we were raising money, we've had VCs, and we just said the other day, oh, well, there's a lot of competition out there. I'm like, really? How many? Oh, there's got to be 30, 40, 50. 227. Like, what? I go, yeah. To Fred's point, I know there's 227 apps. Only 23 have been funded, 18 have traction, 9 of them are working, and 6 of them are worth more than $1 billion. So, do you want to talk about why we're different? We can talk about it, but you think I don't know my competition, I know why it won't work. You've got to know what you're doing going in because you're going to get challenged. So I do everything with why won't this work? And if you guys do it, trust me, it will benefit you because you'll get true feedback. Another big one when you're starting the company, in my opinion, take meetings early and often. If you can find people who you think are your potential customer, find people who've been there and done it before, find people who you think one day you want to do business with, don't wait till you think you're ready. Find a way to get in front of them early. But you have to go in a position where you're humble. I think I have it up there. If I don't, I usually do. Oh, there it is. First one. Be humble. Right? If I was trying to do a business and I had the opportunity to meet Fred or Alex, where Alex was doing some great stuff around 3D printing, and I was going to do something what I thought was different and unique with 3D printing, I wouldn't go into Alex going, look how great this is. If I was in there, I'd say, Alex, thanks so much for your time, and I'd love to show you what I'm doing, and tell me why it won't work. Tell me why you think it's different. Tell me what I would need to one day do business with you. Right? We're pre-selling into companies now where we've got a product that's not even launched. I have 170 brands that have said, hey, this is great. When you're ready, we want to use you. We've pre-sold into the market by taking meetings early and often, but we didn't oversell. We didn't overpromise. Go in humbly saying, here's what I'm doing. What would it take to make this happen? What can I do to get better? What would it take to get started? What would it take to one day do business with you? No matter what your business is, find your customer, find your potential investor, find your potential board members, and take meetings early and often. Get in front of them and ask good questions. I'm going to leave with this. I'm almost done. If you end up with somebody in a position of power, does anybody have a wish list? I'm going to go through the next slide, I think, how to meet anybody in the world you want to meet. But does anybody have a wish list of somebody they'd love to have as an advisor, board member? Like who?
Sherwin Fishenfire.
Who?
He's a venture capitalist funded Uber in the early stages.
What's
Oh,
his
cool.
name?
Sherwin Fishenfire.
Oh, the Sherwin guys up San Francisco. The
Menlo Capital. Yeah, they're in San Francisco.
No, so I just met the guys that just put the 25 million in when they were in Dublin. Anyway,
Oh, okay.
different story. All right. So we can use him. Let's pick a different one that's not a VC. How about a big corporate guy? Anybody have one? Yeah.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Okay. Everybody, most people know who Elon is. Would you agree? Most people that get a meeting with Elon are usually there asking him for something.
Yeah.
They want to meet him for a certain reason. What do you think the one question is that usually doesn't get asked to somebody like Elon?
How can I help you?
How can I help you? Right? What can I do to help you? Because in our mind, we're like, it's Elon. He's freaking Iron Man of our generation. He's got a rocket company and a car company. He's Iron Man. What could I possibly do for Elon? And that's our mentality. So number one, we want to ask that question, but what we don't want to do is, what's your name?
Matt.
We don't want to ask it like Matt asked it. Because if you meet somebody like that and you say, oh, well, gosh, thank you so, again, to me it's about humility and appreciation. Thank you so much, Elon. I really appreciate your time. By the way, what can I do to help you? He'll pat you on the head. Oh, no, it's been great. You've asked the wrong question the wrong way. The mind works in isolation. Isolation of faces, isolation of names, isolation is problems. You always want to ask the question, what are the top 2 or 3 things that you're working on that if I come across a way to help you, I can help you? Hey, Elon, it's been great. What are the 2 or 3 biggest problems you're trying to solve right now that if I happen to run across somebody to help you, I'd love to do it? Hey, Elon, outside of work and space and all the solar cities, so this is amazing. What are the 1 or 2 things you're most passionate about outside of work? I'd love to know that. And guys, it's always 1 or 2 or 2 or 3. The way our mind works, that's our mental pegs. What can I do to help you is too broad. The mind doesn't isolate down. Problem, passion, product. What are you passionate about? What's your problem? What's the product? Anytime you're in a position of power, ask somebody, hey, what are the 2 or 3 things? Or what are the 1 or 2 X? Now, does anybody want to guess why you do that?
It frames the question in a way where one of those answers you'll be able to possibly address.
Correct, and ... What it does, what's your name? Nissan. What it does, guys, is it opens up the door for you to solve somebody's problem at any point in the future. If you knew the 2 or 3 problems Elon Musk was having, and you thought you could solve his problem, you have an open door to get back to that person to help him solve that. It's amazing what will happen because you all of a sudden are adding value to somebody else who isn't used to somebody adding value because you asked the question differently. So your vision, your idea, your business, take meetings early and often, but if you get in front of somebody, isolate down to figure out what you can do to help solve problems for them. All right, almost done. Build a good advisory board. Advisors are great. Credibility, interest, introductions, figure out who you want, who you need, figure out how to meet them. Tornado technique I'm going to finish up with. This is step 3 or 4 of a 10-step program I do called Isolation is a Good Thing. All right, and it's basically, it's a way to figure out in your business how to frame what you're doing when you talk to somebody. The vision and idea says, what am I doing where I want to communicate my company to somebody in a way where they can help me? Right? And you guys are writing this down. I'm going to give this to Janine, but there's an emotional value of what you do. There's industry, there's company, there's title, and there's target. All right, and here's what I mean. I use Rona Star all the time. That's why Alex has seen it, and I love this. So I'm going to stand over here, guys. I'm going to do this quick. I want you all to listen to Rona Star and tell me how you can help me. Rona Star. Alex knows this one, so here we go. We're an ASP and an SAS. We're a proprietary platform redeploying assets inside an enterprise as an ERP initiative. We sit over an Oracle or an FI module on an SAP program. We're not an implementation or an integration. We're a change management inside a large organization. Can you guys help me? Come on. Oh, all right, let me explain to you what we do, and then we're going to go into it again. You guys in your business are going to try and explain to people what you do, and what you do is irrelevant to what you need. Here's what I mean. Here's Rona Star using this technique. Hey, Rona Star, we've got software. We help really big companies save a lot of money. Companies are trying to save money. We help them save money. We're in industries like automotive, manufacturing, government, public schools. Some of the clients we deal with are NASA, Chicago Public Schools, United Airlines. In those big companies, we sell directly to the CFO. And I'd love to meet the CFO for the state of California, city of Los Angeles, maybe Disney. All right, so if you know any CFOs, I'd love to talk to them. That's what I do. So think about what I just did mentally, guys. What does Rona Star do? We help companies save money, and I'm trying to meet CFO. You have no clue what I do. It doesn't matter. My job isn't to convince you what I do. My job is to talk to CFOs to sell software. I need to know if you know somebody. When you learn how to articulate your company, like Magmo, the one we're doing photo sharing, we're a publication tool for industries, entertainment, music. We work with brands like NASCAR, NFL, Monster, Starbucks. We're dealing with the digital officer inside those companies, if you know any digital or marketing directors. And right now we'd love to meet Aaron Ray, Ryan Seacrest, Scooter Braun, Ryan Kavanaugh. When I go through my process with somebody, Magmo is nothing more than photo sharing that's Instagram on steroids, where we help people tell better stories. But here's the target of who I'm trying to meet. Now guys, here's why this is important. I'm going to go back. When you're creating your company, this is an exercise you need to go through. Say, oh, well, if here's my company, what's the emotional value of what I do where people will remember? What are my best industries? Not that I can't be in every industry, but what are my best industries? Who are my target customers? Who's the buyer inside that company? Who's the wish list of who I'd love to meet? And this, guys, could be for sales. It could be for raising money through venture capital. It could be for board members, right? I mean, I love the fact that you knew that, guys, if I'm raising money, I'm figuring out the emotional value. I'm figuring out who the best VCs are, who the companies are, who the partner is within there, and the 5 that I want to meet right now because that's my target. If you're not that specific, you are in a reactive business where you hope people can help you versus a proactive business where you are driving your business to the outcome you want. Most people have no clue who they want to meet, have no clue what they're doing, and no clue of how to get me to help them because they're trying to sell me on their business. It's not about what you do, it's about what you need. So figure out your list in everything. Customers, board members, VCs, be specific, figure out the names, ask for big people, don't be shy because you will get those introductions. But you have to know who they are. All right, Beware of title creep. As you start building your company, again, these are just some little tidbits I've learned. I don't know, Fred and Alex, if you guys have gone through this, you'll recognize it and laugh. Negotiate with your potential co-founders. Negotiate with your potential CTO. Negotiate with anybody early and often. Because if you don't, they think they have more value. The longer you sit around and talk about an idea with somebody, the more ownership they take. The longer you sit around and formulate and whiteboard and do all this, the more that person thinks they're your co-founder. The longer you sit around and get ideas from somebody, the more they think they're worth. So find a way to negotiate early and often. And I've got a way I've done this for years. I've got a term sheet. You guys can't read it because it's small print, doesn't matter. But I can negotiate with the potential advisor and president, put some targets out here that says, hey, if you participate as an advisor, you get this little bit of stock. If you help raise money, you get these things. If you come full time, here's what you get: salary, equity. Here's your bonuses. Here's your, all of this I can negotiate up front. All right, and the attorneys are in the room. This is important, guys, because I'm not giving away this equity if they don't come full time and do anything. The mistake people make is they'll do these employment agreements not tied to a trigger, and you give equity away for people who don't do anything, don't come to work, don't go full time. So find a way to negotiate early and often, but protect your equity and your value when they come in. All right, and I've used this in so many examples. We'll modify the number for percentages. We'll change their targets. We'll negotiate their salary. We'll negotiate their equity. Because if you don't, if you've got a guy who you're negotiating 5, 7, 10% with early on, if he's full-time in a senior role, but if you sit and develop the business over 3, 6, 9 months, he thinks he's your partner. He thinks he's your co-founder. He thinks he's worth half of the equity because he was there when he developed all the ideas with you. Gotta protect against that or you'll be screwed at the end. As you're talking about people, does anybody know Covey's quadrants? 4 quadrants? All right. I created my own quadrant. This will help you as you're trying to find people to get involved. Here's the different quadrants: 1, 2, 3, 4. Quadrant 1, lots of interest and time. Has the time, has the interest, has the background, has the credibility. Quadrant 2, interest but no time. Interest, background. Quadrant 3, has the time, background, credibility, no interest, has the background, credibility, no interest, no time. Here's why this was important. My favorite 2 quadrants here are 3 and 4. Quadrant 3, because I recognize when somebody's here but not interested. This one will kill you. You will get sucked into somebody out of a big company with a big title and a big background who's got all this interest, and you think, oh, if I just get this guy, and he's got no time, and you get sucked into it. Got to figure out if the guy's not interested. He's got no interest, but he's got the background. He's got the time. Just not interested in doing it. Cut your losses. Doesn't mean you give up on people, just don't keep holding them in high regard that they're going to do something. A fast no's better than a slow maybe. I love people when they tell me no. Lets me cut them off and move, not in a bad way, but a fast no's better than a slow maybe. So figure out how to evaluate people, whether it's co-founders, whether it's venture, whether it's sales. Find the people who have interest in time and figure out how to focus on them. All right, what would you do? I think I only have 1 or 2 more. This guy, some of you may know, adopted, first family didn't want him, gave them back, dropped out of college, offered 1/3 of his business to his boss for $50,000, and his boss turned him down. Said, no, you're never gonna make it, sorry. Was fired from his own company, created several products that failed spectacularly, bought his company back, built one of the most respected companies in the world. Does anybody know who that is?
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs, right? Nolan Bushnell, a friend of ours, worked at Atari. Steve offered him 1/3 of Apple for $50,000. Nolan's like, no way. The important part of this isn't what Steve Jobs did. Find a hero. Find somebody in your business or that you want to emulate and read and study and find out what that person went through to be successful. Because at the end of the day, it's not all easy. There's a lot of hard decisions. There's a lot of times they were scared. A A lot of times they thought they might not make it. Find a hero, study them, and then when things are tough, go, what would Steve do? Right? It's like, how do I make a good decision when I can't make payroll? Or when I've got this decision which is out along the edges and it might not quite be legal, it's like, what would Steve Jobs do? Find a hero and figure out and read and study and then make decisions based on the person you want to become. Last slide, couple things. You guys may or may not know this. There's little resources out there if you're trying to do patent work, pto.gov. The reason it's important, the IP guys are here. A lot of times you can go do some of your own research for prior art. You can go do a little bit of research to help your attorneys out. If you go into an IP attorney, your ideas in your head, they're starting from scratch. If you can do some work for them, it makes it easier for them to work with you. Say, no, here's what I think my idea is, and here's some prior art I found, and here's what I think. And just do some of the work that's out there that's available. Haro, does everybody know what Haro is? All right, sign up for Haro, but put it in a different email account, not your main one. They will blitz you with 3 or 4 emails a day, and it's overwhelming and frustrating, but Haro is help a reporter out. So whenever a reporter is going to do a story, they send it into Haro, and it goes out. You can actually go through and read, and they'll say, oh, well, we're doing a story on e-commerce, and we want somebody that's an e-commerce expert. And it gives you a way to potentially get free publicity. You can go into Haro, and if you find somebody looking for a story, it's free. You email the person, and if they call an interview, you basically are creating some of your own publicity in a free way. Just put it in a different email account because they send out 3 to 5 a day. A little overwhelming. Domain generators, these are kind of interesting if you're trying to create a name. Again, you got to figure a name out. There's so few left in the domain side. Find a way to put them together. I'm not going to go through this. Anybody that wants it, I've got some tips for networking. And then I've got a few truths. Your greatest strength is your greatest weakness. People do more to avoid pain than gain pleasure. People make decisions emotionally, defend them logically. Ask not why, ask why not. This one's fun. If you say it, they doubt it. If they say it, it's true. I love what Fred said earlier. It's like find 6, 10, 15 people dumb enough to believe. Wasn't they were dumb enough to believe. He found 6 or 10 people who said, wow, I think this is a good idea. If you say it, they doubt it. If they say it, it's true. You've got to find a way to get somebody else to agree with your idea. If you work with people, give them credit, contacts, or compensation. If somebody makes an introduction or helps you, give them credit and recognition in front of a group. Right? Give them contacts to help them or pay them if it's appropriate. Just always think about how to give back. Ask good questions. Begin with the end in mind. He who speaks first loses, and 99% of the things you worry about never happen, so why worry? Worry about the 1% that's going to happen or that you can control. The rest of it, not worth worrying about. That's it. Ways to contact me. I'll give you this presentation, but thank you very much.
We're running a little bit behind on time,
Sorry,
so we're
I went
gonna.
over.
That's okay. So we'll hold on the questions, but take a short bathroom break, and then we'll have our last mentor. Yes, we did. We just rejected,
Recording it.
So Brian is
几点结束？9点。
So Brian,
Is this thing grown, Janine?
No, it's the same, but there's on your.
Same number of pages?
Which is great. Best point for being the AV. So historically, Brian has last semester, myself and the guy from San Diego would come up every week. Sean said,
I think it's going to be one of these hours.
I think we just come through a couple of
I think some of them we work on. think the name is such a small plug is going to get it. You can have what you can do with it. Presentations.
I think the first thing when I heard something they said is right? And then they can skill it.
Thank you, that was great.
I'll take it.
It's on a cantilever there, so it's kind of heavy. It's like, you're like going through a wall.
A lot about the perception. Because you have background of psychology.
It's all about training.
Good. John?
Nice meeting you.